So we come up with this session, the state of the independents, and the plan was to sort of look at sort of the underlying trends, how the industry sector's performing at the moment, looking at various data sources. We was also going to be doing our own survey, which we speak about every time. So we were looking at all sorts of different sort of data points. But when we spoke earlier, one thing we thought of is the industry feels like 2025 has been quite a positive year. There's a lot of growth. Hopefully you're all seeing that as well, and you're seeing sort of lots of memberships and, good revenue and just generally high-performing facilities. If you don't, we'll talk about that later. So it's been a generally positive year, and I think we're all quite committed to growing the sector, working hard, working for our members, growing our businesses. Really positive from that respect. What we see all the time is tons of industry data. So there's always talk about how clubs are growing, memberships, the industry itself is growing. Leisure DB do a fantastic report. But what we rarely see is data coming from the consumers that are in our gym, our members themselves, and what their perspectives are. So we decided 30 minutes ago that we were going to look through the eyes of the consumer lens. So, Julie, would you like to introduce yourself first?
Thanks, Rob. So hi. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jules. I'm one of the directors at a company called Active Insight. And everything we do is through the lens of the consumer. We support the industry in three key ways. Firstly, we have an event called ActiveNet, which is in partnership with you wonderful people at independent gyms. So we can share details of that later. But most importantly, the two core areas are all around consumer insight. That really runs through everything. And then we work directly with operators, measuring and supporting you guys manage your customer experience for continued growth. So we're going to dive into a range of insight today and test my number knowledge.
We are. So that's answered the second question. So I was going to say, tell us about Active Insight, which you have done. Been going for years, and we've worked closely together. If you're not familiar with them, jump into some of their events because they're almost as good as ours. So we want to dive into the data. You do a lot of consumer data. Tell us about this 80,000 consumer survey report.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Thanks. Can you tell we prepared this? So like I said, at Active Insight, we are conducting research all the time, and we conduct research via a range of methods. So every week we are running focus groups, which keeps us very close to users, non-users, members, non-members, etc. Those who are currently active, those that are inactive, and really gives us that narrative as to why people do what they do. But on a much larger scale, we work very closely with UK Active, supporting their consumer engagement polling. We have a panel of up to 62,000 respondents within the UK, and we are going out frequently testing behaviours, perceptions, etc. And then last week, we actually revealed the findings from the movie community's customer experience survey, where a lot of the findings really can be translated and brought across to the independent sector. And it's the largest single study within the UK, within England, I should say, of over 80,000 responses. So it's given us some really great insight into what members value, what really matters to them, and then most importantly, and as always, this data allows us to make informed decisions so that we can really shape our customer experience based on the consumer rather than what we think would be a great idea for growth.
Sums it up perfectly.
Thanks.
So when we were chatting 20, 30 minutes ago, we've looked at sort of 4 or 5 areas of the results of this survey that we would probably want to talk a bit more about. We're going to pick on some of you as we go around as well, mainly to fill the time, if I'm honest with you. So one of the areas, and I think it's quite an important area, is about lapsed members. What can you tell us about these findings from the lapsed members?
Yeah, so this was actually through our consumer insight panel. So we wanted to understand, people come through our doors, because, we know through the research we do with UK Active, primarily it's to improve physical fitness and strength, very closely followed by improving mental health. Yet, I'm going to talk about COVID. I don't really want to, but COVID did. Yeah, I don't really want to, but we'll mention it and we'll move on. But of course, COVID woke everybody up. We were back to a, sort of clean sheet, if you like. Yet here we are a few years down the line with the same behaviour of people joining and then dropping out. So we really wanted to get under the hood of, why? Why, in a time when, cost is a perceived barrier, are people prepared to pay for a membership and not attend? Now, again, a bit of a disclaimer here. There are no fancy formulas or anything, groundbreaking that I'm going to share with you, but this is the data. Over 50% of people who are lapsed, i.e. haven't attended for 3 months or more, are prepared to stay in that space in the hope that one day they'll be motivated enough to return. That's sort of the blanket umbrella finding. Now, what we can do with that data is go a little deeper with it and start to understand, well, actually it was a higher percentage of women compared to men that are lapsing. Again, I'm sure for those of you in the room who are measuring your customer experience, you won't be surprised by that. But a bit later today, I'm going to talk to you about some of the insight we're having through our secondary spend data and the opportunities you have there, both from an upsell opportunity, but again, I like to see upsell as an upserve opportunity. And what we started to see when we overlay all these different data sets are for women who are lapsed and who have children between the age of, well, from baby to the age of 2, they're looking for additional nutritional support. So again, how can we take this data and ensure we understand our consumer and really meet their needs beyond the physical kit and what we're offering? So that really is the value piece.
You got any tips for them to deal with lapsed members? Or should we go right to the audience?
Do what?
I'll say it again. Have you got any tips for how gyms would approach lapsed memberships? Or should we go out to the audience and ask them to tell us themselves?
Oh, well, I do. But let's hear from you guys.
So I'm looking at various people in the room. I was wondering who to pick on first, but I think there's about 12 people from NL Fitness over here. So we've got the two main men, Nathan and Aaron. How do you manage lapsed memberships? Because you've got how many clubs now? 6, 7?
8.
8.
They're growing over there.
Yeah. Have you got any approach to lapsed memberships and sleepers and so on?
Yeah, so just effectively having these CRMs. This week, run-ups. It makes this pretty much here. The last 30.
Yeah.
Getting the motivation is what it is.
I think, and thanks for sharing that, guys. And good to see you as well, by the way. You should always have some kind of process for sure to re-engage and reach out. For anyone who's ever heard me speak before, you'll know my view on this. And it's very much around and I'm not suggesting you don't get it right from the start, by the way, just to be clear. But to really get that engagement, that onboarding right at the start, those 12 weeks are absolutely vital, as we all know. Some of you might have seen this research. It was published for Mental Health Awareness Day, 10th of October. And again, given that it is November, I think it's important to share this, that people who said that they had a mental health or struggled with their mental health in some capacity, we saw that in the first 12 weeks of their membership, their mental health condition was still relatively high, but once they'd broken the back of that, actually they were starting to feel so much better. And again, when we look at this data around mental health, what was really striking is we went out to our consumer insight panel and we asked the question, well, if you are struggling with your mental health, what aspect of your mental health are you hoping to improve by being a member at your local facility? And this is across the sector in terms of facility. And a higher percentage of men compared to women said that they really wanted to reduce feelings of loneliness and isolation. So again, understanding our consumer and getting it right from the start can have such a significant impact on someone's life, essentially. But I might have gone off on a tangent. Soz.
A little bit.
There's Rob worried that he can't fill 45 minutes. You do know who you're on a stage with.
I can't, but you can, so thank you. I want to jump quick. I'm going to pick on Matt here, actually. When we talk about lapsed memberships again, your facility is different to a conventional facility. How would you approach... Well, tell us a little bit about your facility first, and how would you deal with the lapsed membership process?
So we deliver our personal training products step by step. It's
We deliver a personal training product, so everybody who comes to us is coming to us for one-to-one coaching. As part of their coaching package, they get a membership at our gym. So we probably only work with about 180 clients across 8 personal trainers at any one time. We're kind of more on the premium end of the pricing. But if we have somebody who stops working with us, largely because of us probably not getting to their goal, or maybe not being quite as focused on their objectives as maybe what they were at the beginning. We tend to find that people are quite aggressive with what they want to achieve initially, but then that dies down a little bit over time. And our job as coaches is to make sure that we keep somebody on that same track and keep them progressing, and then also set their sights a little bit higher in terms of what's actually possible for them in the long term. In terms of dealing with lapse, again, going back to a really good CRM is important, and reaching out to people 2, 3, 4 months down the line just to check in, see how they're getting on. That's pretty much it.
That's cool. Thank you, Matt. We're going to get Jade running around with the mic now for us to go proper planning and all that sort of stuff. Any questions around lapse memberships from the audience? Anything else? I've picked on a couple of people, obviously. No? It's good. Julie, let's move on to our second subject now. You touched on it earlier in terms of secondary spend. What sort of data do you have around that?
Yeah, so again, through our consumer insight panel, we were able to go out and understand where is that upserve opportunity? What does that look like? What actually do consumers want? And our Gen Zs are more likely to purchase additional products and services. When we look across the board in terms of genders, age, there was a very clear picture forming in terms of additional requirements or opportunities. We're certainly seeing in our top 3, people are looking for additional health supplements. So whilst protein shakes are still up there, actually it's much more around that health drink and vitamins, rather than the protein shake. Recovery and massage are very, very important. But actually the number one product that people wanted to purchase were additional family guest passes and to bring more people in, which I'm kind of looping back to the start of our session. There is one consistent thing that I see across all of our research. Whichever method we take, we see the same thing. And it's always around social connection, that connectivity. People want to be with like-minded people with shared values in a place that they feel safe. So there's a real opportunity here around guest passes. The other key thing to share with you is that we saw a really strong trend, particularly for men who were looking for health MOTs. So again, wanting that extra health angle, not just your traditional hoodies. Whilst those are important, actually it's much more health related. And again, knowing your consumer, knowing who is in your business will really enable you with this data to ensure that you can offer things in the right time at the right place to the right person, which obviously from an income perspective is going to help. But from that customer experience, we know that's going to add real value. The only other thing I'll add to that, sorry, Rob, here we go, we're warming up, here we go, is, and you won't be surprised by this, that people who are training regularly in your facilities are more likely to purchase from you. Again, that is a consistent message across all of our data. Those with a high NPS score are more likely to purchase additional products for you. They're going to spend more time with you, they're going to spend more money with you. So this really, everything we talk about today, is going to come back to your customer experience and the value that you offer people. Being very clear on your value. Coming back to that survey of over 80,000 people, 92% said value for money was one of the most important factors when going to their local training facility. So it's really important we define what that value is. Today, whilst you're sat here, your customers are having an experience whether you design it or not. So to be really clear with who you are, define it, deliver it consistently, measure it, that's where you're going to drive the real value.
Thank you. Let's dig a little deeper into the secondary spend element there, because you've mentioned a few things there that were a little bit different to what I was expecting. I would always class guest passes in a secondary line, a different line to secondary spend. So it's good to see that combined. We'll come out to the audience again, but I probably won't pick on people this time. And if secondary spend is a big focus for you in your gym, or just something, is it a massive focus? So I still have Rob, yeah. Is it a bit of an afterthought? Lovely, great stuff. Who has a dedicated shop in their gym? Yeah, Rob, hands. And who would use a vending machine? Okay, yeah. So the convenience is probably kicking in a little bit more here, isn't it, I think?
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, excuse me. I've already been talking a lot. Who knew? But yeah, that convenience piece is really important. Particularly, we know a lot of our teams, our front of house teams, I mean, I have two views on this, but I'll go with one of them to start with, aren't very comfortable or knowledgeable in upselling. And again, when I've gone out and worked with teams, they're like, oh, I don't want to sell. Well, it feels very uncomfortable. But actually, if you are creating an experience where you genuinely care about somebody, it should be part of an organic, natural conversation rather than I've got to try and sell this. And so often, I think for our industry, we can just look outside of it. And actually, if you go to a restaurant, you expect to be upserved. You expect someone to say, would you like fries with that? Probably says more about where I eat, doesn't it? But anyway, you go through to your local Starbucks, they're going to ask you something, and I expect it, and I'm okay with that. But of course, in our industry, it's something that we don't really tap into, and if we do, we don't tap into it overly well. But there is a huge opportunity. But I will always look at this through the lens of the consumer, that actually being able to offer that is going to give them the experience that they're really looking for.
Thank you. Little plug in terms of secondary spend. Tropicana are just inside, and there's tons of other drinks companies as well. So go and chat to those guys. Guest passes, because you touched on that as well. We'll go through that quickly. Who has a target in their facility in terms of guest pass revenue? Hands up. Just NR. So do you generally, should I say, wing it, I suppose, in that case? Or how would you go about your guest pass revenue generation? No hands in the air. Go on in. We've got a question. An answer.
I just think we go to this.
So when it comes to guest passes for us, we tend to almost theme it. So we'll do through summer like Friendly Friday, and we use those more as paying leads. So we kind of use guest passes more as paying leads in our sense.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's a great opportunity, isn't it? And I suppose, another view of this is if you reward your members, rather than the standard, here's the fluffy towel, here's the water bottle, actually knowing what really, people value, it's going to add a lot more to any sort of reward schemes, etc. as well.
Should we talk about MPS?
Yes.
Julie's favourite subject.
Right.
Do you want to kick off? Or shall I ask you a question?
So, just a very quick show of hands. Who knows what MPS is? Okay, some going up, some not. So I'll do a very quick summary of MPS and why, if you are committed to growing your business, it should be the one essential metric that you live your day-to-day by. So MPS is the Net Promoter Score. It is used globally across all industries, not just our industry. And it's basically goes back to the 1990s when Fred Reichheld and co. wanted to see, was there a direct correlation between loyalty and business growth? And there absolutely is. And without going into too much detail, MPS is essentially one single question that can transform any business. Lego, believe it or not, was a failing brand at one point. They were expecting their business to grow in a certain way. It didn't. They implemented their voice of the customer strategy, MPS, and understood actually what their consumer wanted. They were then able to adopt an agile approach, and Lego continues to be the brand that we all know and love and still step on as well, which is always a joy. However, within our industry, so the question is, how likely are you to recommend NR to someone you know, for instance, which of course would be a 10. And the scoring is 9 or 10. Your promoters, your raving fans, these are the ones in your community who are saying, why go there? You've got to come to my gym. They're fantastic. They make me feel great. MPS taps into both dimensions of loyalty. So on the one hand, your consumer will think, can I do what I need to do? But actually, it packs a punch because it is emotive. And we're going to start to see things like, when I joined, I wasn't feeling so good, but now I feel unstoppable. Because those stories are happening in your facilities. You then, I really am going to go for it now. So, here we go. Those that score you 7 or 8 are your passives. They're a very, very, very interesting source of insight, because if you went to a passive member and you said, well, what's the one thing we could do to improve your experience? They have the answer. They know exactly what they want from the experience. It's not about the score, it's about experience. Those that score you 0 to 6, these are your detractors. These are the ones that if they were to come into your club with a red neon flashing light saying, I'm going to leave, I'm going to leave, I'm going to leave. Guess what happens, Rob, in the next 12 weeks?
Do they all leave?
Yes, you are correct. They are going to leave. Now, so like I say, MPS is really, really important. The scoring can go from minus 100 to plus 100. But what's really interesting is MPS in our industry has taken a bit of a dip. Again, sort of pre-COVID benchmark, mid-40s. Coming out of COVID, it was at 35. It went down to 22 for a couple of years, went up to 28 last year. And as of last week, we can share with you that it's now sitting back at 25. Now, the most important thing to take from this is, well, there's many things, but we started to take a deeper dive into over 80,000 responses to really understand what did determine that NPS, what was the score, what influenced it. And one of the main drivers, and this is one of the most important things I can share with you today, one of the main drivers for that score was their previous visit. So I haven't got my usual slide deck for me today, and if you've seen me present before, you'll know exactly where I would go with this. But it is so vital for you to be very clear on how you want people to feel when they engage with your clubs, what the experience is. If you are a transactional budget style operator, then that's fine. I won't expect to be engaged with, I won't expect that community feel, I'll understand who you are. But if you are promising, whether that is explicitly through your brand messaging or implicitly, that you are going to support people, you're friendly, you're knowledgeable, they're going to expect that. So it's really, really vital that we create these experiences and deliver them consistently. And the only way you'll know if you are delivering that consistently or not is to implement an NPS within your business. Because right now, whilst we're sat here, if somebody's in your facility and they're not getting the experience they like, if NPS lands, it's very unlikely it's going to be a 9 or a 10 instantly.
So quick poll then, hands in the air. Who has implemented an NPS survey in their gym before to their members? Very few.
Be proud. Thanks for that. Yes, come on. This is it. This is commitment to growth.
If a gym wanted to implement the survey, how would you suggest they go about doing that?
Well, I would have said, connect with me on LinkedIn. But as I'm slowly getting over, I've been hacked and I need to redo my profile, but this isn't about that. But please come and find me. I'll hang around at the end. And as a friend to you guys, we would love to offer a one-off NPS. So you have that visibility. You can draw that line in the sand and then put steps in place to drive progress and your customer experience.
Lovely. I kind of want to do a live NPS now, which might backfire massively, but I'm going to say, stick your hand in the air if you would give, stick your hand in the air if you'd give the gym operator conference a 9 or a 10. Yeah, thank you very much. That worked. Lovely. There we go.
For those who kept their hand down.
Yeah, I've watched.
We've got them.
They might be back. Okay. Thank you for that. Shall we quickly touch on the latest research that you've been doing?
Yeah, so this has just been released, so bear with me, guys. I will have to reference my notes. But we are working in partnership with Fitronics, looking at new joiners. So there's lots of information out there around, attrition, etc. But we really want to understand, what is motivating our joiners. I should be clearer. Apologies. We're measuring their intent to join. We know the motivations. We have all of that insight. We understand the barriers. Again, just linking back to NPS and why that really matters. You may have seen this, but the top 5 barriers, whilst cost is always the perceived number 1 barrier, also in the top 5 from the work we do with UK Active, we're seeing that confidence is 2 of the key barriers. I don't have the confidence to join, and I'm uncomfortable at the thought of joining. So again, I firmly believe that the more we deliver a consistent experience, we create our promoters who naturally go into our community and sell you guys. They will defend you, but they'll equally say to someone, you don't have to worry about going to my gym. They're fantastic. Of course you don't have to be fit to be there. That's the whole point of being there. So this research is really looking at joiner rate, and we are following a cohort of 2,000 people. We are now a year into this process, and we will continue. And we are looking at members, former members, those that have never been a member. And with those that have never been a member, we are sending a follow-up to understand, well, are you going to consider it in the future? So we're getting this really lovely picture come through. So some of the key headlines I'll share with you today. A lot of our new members, a lot of your new members will have been a member somewhere else before. So we spend a lot of time creating, new member journeys, the tool process, point of sale. One of the key questions we must now be asking, if you're not already, and I would have suggested you, I'm sure you're doing this anyway, is really understanding, has somebody been a member elsewhere before? Because if they have, they're going to have some very different expectations. So there we have to be very clear as to who we are and manage their expectations, as we've already touched on. So Very, very important that we bring that question in to understand, have you been a member elsewhere before? And of course, we're not just going to accept a yes, no. We're going to ask the question, great, well, what did you like about that? What were you looking to achieve? And really understand that experience so you can signpost them effectively rather than accept a yes, no. We need to take a deeper dive. I'm so sorry to look down and read some of this out, but again, it's good stuff. We have learned from over half of our cohort who are not considering joining, and again, I've touched on some of the barriers today. So the top 5 barriers are the perception of cost. I mean, that's its own session, so I will park that for today. But again, that's always that perception of value. We spoke about value at the start of today's session. Price is what you pay, value is what you get. The other barriers that we're seeing through the work we do with UK Active are not interested in membership, no need for membership, and then we have those two relating to confidence. Now, what we've seen from the results last week of the survey of over 80,000 people, I hope you're keeping up, by the way, with where we get all this data from, because there's a lot for me to remember, I'll be honest. But what we're seeing from these guys are that, again, that value piece is really, really vital. But 85% of people who are current customers in centres, in locations, said that they relate to people who are in their facility. They feel safe, they feel it's welcoming, they feel it's inclusive. These are not nice to have. These are absolute non-negotiables for growth and reach in our community. Now, I look at that data and it makes me really happy that 85% do feel seen, that they relate to people that are there. But there are still a large number of people in our communities, and I'm speaking to them on a weekly basis, who say, I can't join that facility because it doesn't relate to me. The marketing is, you've got to be fair, all of this. Now, I'm seeing a real shift in storytelling, which is lovely. And again, more imagery of people that are in our sites rather than iStock. And it's really important. If you want to grow your business and meet more members, we need to have imagery, messaging that is relatable and meets people where they are. So, for over half that are currently not considering joining, the 35% said that they would be somewhat likely in the next 6 months. But what was really important for them is they wanted confidence that they would see results. So again, this is why we've touched on onboarding today and not allowing any lapsed members, because actually people want to see results. Of course you do. You want value, right?
Yeah, 100%. I think when you talk about results, I'll look straight at Matt then, because he said earlier, he's all about delivering results, and that basically fixes your lapsed members. So, perfect.
And just the last point on that little bit here, those that are inactive said they are 9 times more likely to say they would join a facility if they believed they would achieve results. So again, when you think the average weekly visit at the moment certainly isn't above 2, it's very unlikely you'll be seeing results if your attendance is that. Coming back to that point around NPS and that last visit, our sole purpose should be every time somebody engages with you, that it leads to at least one return visit in the following 7 days. It's as simple as that. But of course, it's how you do it that makes you different to your competitors.
Yeah, and I think a little tip, and I think Rob Harris told me this one, start listening. So every time they're on their way out, you ask them, when are you coming back next? When are your next training? And that puts the mental sort of thought into the head that they have to come back for that next visit.
Do you know, you're absolutely right. Where's Dave Alstead isn't here, is he? We have quite good chats around this one. But driving that return visit, when will we see you again? I'm not suggesting you have to sing it, but you might want to. But actually asking that, you're right, Rob, because it does plant that psychological seed of commitment of, actually, I'm going to come in on Friday, etc. I mean, again, I could spend a lot of time talking around this. But, we're in the business of behavioural change, essentially. This is what we're here to do, to support people on their journey. We know people are coming through our doors with really big motivations. It isn't lose weight, tone up, get fit. It's, I want to run around with the grandkids. I want to do this. I want to do that. So we have to Tam's phrase, meet people where they are and support them with that.
I think we've almost filled 45 minutes.
I've got more data.
You keep going then, Julie.
Right.
Well, I was going to say here, I've written down, what's the one bit of insight for gym owners to take away?
Okay. Thanks for that question, Rob. So we, as you know, conduct a lot of research. And earlier this year, we conducted some research into role models. So we went out to our panel and we asked the question of adults, do you see yourself as a role model when it comes to being physically active for children and young people? Again, for those of you who know me, you'll know I was quite excited about this research because I thought, this is going to be fantastic. But it was actually one of the saddest bits of research I've ever done. And basically what we saw was over 50% of adults did not see themselves as a role model for their children, young people, when it comes to being physically active. Now, when we take a deeper dive, and we're able to segment this data in very many different ways, we can look at ethnicity, we can look at age, gender, all the standard demographics. I can also tell you about, whether people with dogs found themselves to be a role model. The answer is they do. People with dogs do see themselves to be a role model. But if there's one bit I can share with you today to take back into your clubs, is what we do today really does influence our future generations, because those who are active, those who are training regularly, they do see themselves as role models, and we'll all know the impact that a role model has, the ripple effect it has. I guess my last bit to share with you is what you do as a result of being here today will make an absolute difference, not only to the people who are enjoying your facilities and coming back and raving about you because they're your promoters. It will have such a positive impact on future generations. So I think that's really the last bit I could share.
Perfect. Who in the club, we talk about future generation, who focuses on youngsters coming through their gym as a membership? Yeah.
Love
that. With you, yeah. Who doesn't because of insurance and the hassle that is perceived to come with it? Yeah, to say. So I think there's no right and wrong, but I think it's like you say, it's a source of future members, but it's the positivity that comes with it.
Yeah, it is. It is a really interesting one. And I think if you are restricted for whatever reason, then just the mere fact that you are getting their parents, their guardians active, and the influence. I mean, I am a better person when I have exercised. There's no two ways about it. I'm sure we can all relate to that. I have two children, a 13-year-old, a 9-year-old. Thankfully, where we go, they can come into the gym. It is the best moment in my week when I get to go on a treadmill next to those guys or watch them do their box jumps, and they're amazed. I mean, clearly I don't do them. I just stand by the side.
I'm looking up to you. You're a role model.
Next time, yeah. But it means so much to us. And again, for a generation now who are attached to their screens, actually giving them that space, that safe space to move, it means a lot.
Perfect. Right, we are almost wrapping up. Jay's at the back with the microphone. Is there any questions at all that you guys want to ask of Julie? Julie's the knowledge here, by the way. No, I think we're done in that case. Oh, question. Jade, in the middle.
Go Jade.
Is the study available to view online?
It absolutely is. So if you go to, I feel so salesy, our website, active-insight.org, then the articles are there. My contact details are there as well. But if you hand back, I'll take a photo of your thing. And when I'm back online, I'll be saying, will you be my friend to all of you?
Thank you.
Thanks.
I think we had another question at the front.
Oh, so question.
that one?
Okay.
There we go.
Oh.
Yeah, hi there. I just wonder if there's been any research done on the effectiveness of people signing up to events outside of the studio as a way of A, retention, and B, bringing new members in through the connected people they're doing those things with.
Brilliant question. We haven't got that research, but I heard from Tony Eames earlier this week, who has some really great insight into that connectivity in the community and then the impact it has on people coming into clubs. What I can share with you is that the research we're doing at the moment around the new joiners is those that are active outside of our facilities are more likely to be members than not. So I think we need to understand that. There are obviously some great studies, some great impact reports around parkrun. I mean, gosh, I could talk about that all day as well. But again, if you're happy to hand back, I'll take a picture of your card and then I can send you some insights.
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to share our data on what we find as well. Would be.
Where are you from?
It's Mountain Coach. That's .co.uk, and we find that 40% of the people that want help with training for the events bring a friend.
Brilliant.
So referral opportunities. I was wondering if that.
Yeah, okay. Let's absolutely connect. Fantastic. Thank you so much.
All right, and I think we're done. One last thing. Oh, question at the front, Jade. We'll do this last question and then we'll wrap up.
No pressure. It's got to be a good one, has it? You talked earlier about this sort of low-hanging fruit of having a retail arm within your gym. And to be honest, with everything that you've got going on as a gym owner, a coach, your coaching product is probably the most important. Do you have any insight or advice as to what could that thing be to improve the conversion of retail spend? Because my guess is they're spending elsewhere, in Holland & Barrett, in Tesco. How can you claim that monthly revenue to helping increase the spend that you take from your members?
It's a brilliant question. I think to increase that revenue, and you'll forgive me because I feel like it sounds really simple and I don't want to belittle the question at all, but absolutely knowing your client, knowing your data. So again, if you know you've got, if I'm going to stay with Gen Zs, if they are your sort of main consumer, for instance, then again, the data I share with you today, you'll know what matters to them. And part of that conversation, so say, for instance, we know over 60% of people are coming through our doors because they want to improve their sleep. Yeah, unless you're having that conversation with a PT or something, it's, we don't generally go, oh, has your sleep improved? Has it?
My sleep's terrible.
So just whilst we're asking the question, but we don't typically ask the question, do we? But there are other ways in which other team members, other than PTs, might be asking, have you noticed it's joining us? You're feeling more energized. Oh, well, actually, I'm still kind of, struggling. Right, well, let's get you booked in with Biceps. Let's get you in for a session. And also, did you know that you don't have to be fully trained in stuff in terms of, we've got all of this that can support you. So I think it is effective conversations, understanding your member, really meeting them again where they are. I touched on women earlier, and I don't want to sort of stay in this stereotypical space, but, for a lot of women, like I said, a really high percentage of women who are lapsing, they really want nutritional support in the early phases of having a little one. So again, understanding that someone's just had a baby, they're coming back to training, it's probably not the time to say, hey, let's get you booked in some PT. It might be, right, let's really look at your nutrition and add some value there. Because when their child is age 2 to 4, they are then looking for PT. So again, we can build people up and support them. I don't know if that answers the question. Okay.
I'm going to chip in there as well, because I think you've also just got to make it easy for people to buy from you, and that depends on your facility. If you're lucky enough to have a permanent receptionist, for example, that can man a shop, you put more out. If you're a 24-hour gym, you need a vending machine that works and doesn't take forever to get your card payment going through. Just make it easy, provide them choice, and just ask if they want to buy something. Quick question on the way in. Oh, do you want a pre-workout? That kind of thing. Rob Harris at the back's the icon of this, so okay, won't call him out yet, but you know who he is. But yeah, it's just make it easy, yeah. Right then, that pretty much wraps us up. I'm just going to quickly say, I say this every event, we are doing an independent gym survey. We was going to use the results from that today, but obviously we didn't launch the survey. It's written, we've just got to get it out to you. So in the coming weeks, you will receive an email from me. If you could take the time to fill that out, it might take you 15 or 20 minutes, but we're going to use that almost like our own census, that we can talk to brands, understand what you guys are doing, go out and save your money, find your new products and all that kind of thing. So keep an eye out for that for me. And if you could all put your hands together for Julie Allen for getting me out of the shit today. Thank you.